All right, so Matthew Stafford, who now has a playoff win, will go up against the guy who has 35 of them, but obviously they're not playing each other. Exactly. I mean, they kind of are, but Matthew Stafford will be going up against the Buccaneers defense, and that's what we'll be talking about in this video. If you want to hear me talk about the other side of the ball, Brady against the Rams defense, there's already a video on this channel where I break all that down, come up with my final score prediction for that half of the ball. Now we're doing the other half. So real quick, let's go to this chart. And what you're going to see on this chart is this is where each team ranks in terms of their PFF grade for certain positional categories. So for example, the Rams offense ranks 7th best in terms of passing. That's just that's Stafford or whoever's throwing the football. That's where that is. So I guess Odell Beckham Jr.'s 40-yard pass is included in there because this does include playoffs. And then also for coverage for the Buccaneers, they ranked 2nd overall. So that's how this works. You see a lot of good in terms of the passing game. I mean, the Buccaneers pass rush hasn't been spectacular this season, but an element of that has also been injuries. So you think that when they're fully healthy, that should be improved. And also, I mean, when you cover well, the statistics say that having a good coverage unit is better than having a good pass rush unit. There's a lot of evidence to back that up. So also, the Rams offense pass blocks very well, so they're going to have time regardless, it seems. The question will be, can this Tampa Bay defense cover the Rams offense and the plethora of receivers that they have? For the running game, you also have interesting stuff. This is like solid on solid, although again, the injuries coming into play. I think the Buccaneers run defense is better than 12th, even though the grade I think is actually fair. But it should be fascinating. You could also argue Cam Akers is back now, so the running game should be better for the Rams as well. So it might be, instead of decent on decent, good on good. Let's go over here now. So these are the statistics the first time these two teams played each other. These are the Rams offensive statistics, of course. Matthew Stafford's numbers were incredible. 27 for 38, 343 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Really good numbers. They didn't run the ball particularly well, although, again, Cam Akers is back, but how much of a difference does a running back make? I don't know. Also fascinating looking at the receiving game. DeSean Jackson was actually the leading receiver with 120 yards and a touchdown here on just 3 receptions. Cooper Kupp, then, of course, he did well in seemingly every game. And then also guys like Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, who also is no longer, he's out for the season. So that's kind of some interesting stuff there. Let's talk about the Rams offense a little bit more, and what you see on the screen here, this is every single Rams offensive player's PFF grade from that week 3 matchup, where you see, hey, the bottom of the screen was Robert Woods, so maybe, he didn't play particularly well the first time these two teams played each other, although a 57.8 grade isn't even horrible. It's just that, everyone played well to some degree, but if you did it without him having too much of an impact the first time, you, in theory, should be able to do it again. Although the flip side is number 2 on this list is DeSean Jackson, who is no longer a member of your team. Number 4 was Matthew Stafford. So, he had a good day according to the PFF grades. And that's kind of where everyone else is. I don't know if there's anything else too notable. Let's go to the other side. For Tampa Bay at the top of the list, you're going to see actually Ross Cockrell, who is not a starting cornerback. He had one of the better days as well. How much playing time will he get in this one? I don't know, but maybe it'll say, hey, you had a good day last time. Let's give you some snaps this time. Also, some defensive linemen make their way up here. William Goldston, Vita Vea, Joe Tryon Soyunca, Shaquille Barrett. So a lot of guys who had some good days, even Carlton Davis. And it's worth noting Carlton Davis because he was the one healthy cornerback that Tampa Bay had in this one. Well, actually, Jamel Dean was there for 12 snaps, but, he didn't have a ton there. And you could argue, okay, D. Delaney didn't have he was sort of middle of the pack in terms of their defense. But also, again, keep in mind the grade. There wasn't a lot of good with Tampa Bay. D. Delaney's grade was 55.6. That would have been the worst graded player on the Rams offense. So kind of goes to show how good of a day the Rams had. At the bottom of the list for Tampa Bay, you have a couple of safeties, Winfield and Edwards there, and also Devin White. So we'll put a pin on that and talk about it once we get into the film. Let's just get into the film now. Actually, I'm a liar. Not quite filmed just yet. One last chart to talk about. Matthew Stafford, when he is blitzed, is amazing. He has the best passer rating in football when he is blitzed. 4th best PFF grade. When he is not blitzed, the PFF grade drops to 14th and the passer rating drops to 9th. So blitzing him is actually a mistake. Tampa Bay blitzes 40.8%. This is the most in football. I guarantee you Tampa Bay does not know this statistic. I guarantee it, because they don't even have an analytics department. They hate analytics. This is kind of a statistic I would, as a Buccaneers fan, I would hope that they at least are aware of, but, we'll see. All right, getting into the film, quite frankly, while I always say the best way to, study a team, and basically the best way to predict the game when you're seeing teams that have played before is watch the first time they played. You'll learn a ton from it. I don't know how much we're learning from the Rams offense going up against the Buccaneers defense, simply because, they didn't have most of their corners. Carlton Davis was the only corner they had, and cornerback is obviously a huge part of football. So Tampa Bay, I think, even kind of had a different approach than they might end up having against the Rams, just strictly because of that. They're playing a lot of zone coverage, which that's not really what Bowles likes to do. Todd Bowles doesn't like to just play one coverage all game, but they were doing it here, and it allowed guys to get schemed open. Watch how when Stafford takes the snap, you're going to notice as Stafford just gets rid of the ball, you have a player who's just wide open right here. This is Cooper Kupp. Stafford's throw is a little high, or maybe it was a miscommunication, I don't know, but, a little bit of a break for Tampa Bay, but that's exactly the point, is that for Los Angeles, they can scheme this stuff up well, and they play really, the Sean McVay system is kind of entirely designed to beat these style of coverages. I think Tampa Bay might have felt like they just had to do. This one's another one. It's going to be a zone coverage play, and you have a concept that's designed to beat this coverage. So basically the way it works is, the receiver's route, who I've circled at the end there, that's going to be the one that's going to get open. And also watch how well this works. Tampa Bay isn't the best at playing zone coverage. They don't do it as much. They've done it more this season, especially later in the season, so they'll probably be better at it now than they were week 3, but still, this isn't their strength, but they kind of felt like they had to do it a lot, just simply because of what happened, because they had no corners. So this stuff worked, but the question is, how well will it work once Tampa Bay feels like they don't have to play this coverage again? Although the flip side is they'll probably still play it some, and the Rams are really good at executing these routes. So I'm not trying to completely negate all of it either, because this will still happen to some degree. As for the running game, I think the main reason why it's hard to get a running game going is you have Vita Vea. I mean, it's difficult to run the football on a team that has Vita Vea. That's just the reality of the situation. Watch him just completely blow up this play. Didn't actually make the tackle, but it allowed time for Shaq Barrett to be the one who made the tackle. Barrett was intentionally left unblocked. You were going to try to run it quickly by him, and he couldn't do that because of the pressure that Vita Vea made at the beginning. That's what Vita Vea does to people. So that's something that, it's going to be tough to run the football. You're not going to have the rushing day that you had against Arizona, against Tampa Bay. You're just not. And I also want to talk about something like this, because it's really easy to discredit all of the offensive success that the Rams had by saying, well, Tampa Bay didn't have any of their corners. Or they had one of them. So they were basically without all of their corners. That's kind of why they struggled. A play like this is a great example where you could make that argument. It's Cooper Kupp going up against D. Delaney. That's clearly not what Tampa Bay is going to do the next time they play. But the flip side is this is a man coverage concept, and the Rams also have a good concept of their own to beat man coverage. So part of it, too, is a game plan thing. Watch how when Stafford takes the snap, you're going to see Cooper Kupp does get open and get schemed open, but also if that's not D. Delaney and if that's, Carlton Davis instead, is he able to get over and make that play? Does he make the read quicker? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm definitely not going to say it will happen just because it happened against Tampa Bay's backup cornerback room. And finally, something like this. This is a clear thing that Tampa Bay just cannot make mistakes on, and it's their safeties, who had a rough day the last time these two teams played, and Mike Edwards and Antoine Winfield are starting safeties for Tampa Bay. I mean, Jordan Whitehead also gets a lot of touches, so it's usually, Whitehead, Edwards, and Winfield. Usually Whitehead and Winfield are the two starters, but Edwards gets rotated in there a good amount. Anyways, it's zone coverage. You see, this is actually Deshaun Jackson's route, which appears to be going over the middle. Now, some people are going to say, wait a second, Deshaun Jackson isn't there. Who cares? Well, Odell Beckham Jr. is there, and he's, they got similar explosiveness. So don't just say, okay, well, you can't you take this play into consideration, because Odell could end up filling that gap that Deshaun Jackson left. And even then some, obviously. Look at how, right when this play begins, so you see Deshaun Jackson runs past Carlton Davis, who's going to now try to push Jackson off to the safety, which is Antoine Winfield here. But Winfield is breaking in. Jackson's kind of faking as though he's running in, and I think Winfield even looked at Stafford's eyes, and I'm assuming Stafford did something with his eyes to help fool Winfield, but then watch what happens. Jackson goes deep, and you're going to get a big chunk play, and quite frankly, if they make a mistake like that, I don't know if they can recover. Like, maybe you can, but you can't make multiple, and they made multiple the last time these two teams played. So for Tampa Bay, you cannot make those mistakes, and for Los Angeles, you better believe you should try to see if you can get them to make one of those mistakes, because if you can, those can be the difference in winning or losing, especially in a game like this, where I think a lot of people are expecting a very close game. All right, final predictions here. The Los Angeles Rams scored 34 points on nine drives, not counting the drive where they just ran out the clock at the end in the first game. That's 3.8 points per drive. Incredible performance. Very good. The Rams score a very good 2.68 points per drive on the year. Tampa Bay gives up a very good 1.81 points per drive on the year. So my prediction is, it says TB there, it should say LAR. My prediction is that the Rams score 2.5 points per drive on 11 drives, which is 28 points. Now, this is a good day. It's not quite as amazing as their last day was, because I do think that having those cornerbacks matters, and I also think giving Todd Bowles an extra go around, we've seen how he tends to get a lot better at game planning against teams that he's already game planned against before. So my final prediction is Rams 28, Buccaneers 30. The Buccaneers are currently -3 in the Vegas odds, so we're both kind of right around that same mindset. This is a coin flip game. This could go either way. As a Buccaneers fan, I am not comfortable with this one because I definitely am nervous about it. The Rams are a very good football team, and it might come down to who makes the mistake, whether that's the Buccaneers secondary or whether that's Matt Stafford throwing an interception. Like, right? We've seen bad Stafford come into play before, but will it happen this time? I just don't know. I wouldn't bet on it, I guess is what I would say. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.